Chioma, the most admired girl at Grand Oak High, has everything: beauty, wealth, and influence. But when a quiet, brilliant boy named Tunde saves her from embarrassment, she finds herself drawn to him in ways she never expected. However, in a world where reputation is everything, can Chioma risk loving someone society deems unworthy? Or will fear of judgment cost her true happiness? A story of love, regret, and self-discovery, this African tale will leave you thinking long after it ends. Chioma was the undisputed queen of Grand Oak High School. She walked through the halls like royalty, her long braids swaying, her uniform always neat, and her confidence unmatched. The girls admired her, the boys dreamt of her. She was not just beautiful, she was powerful. Her father was a well-known businessman, and her mother ran a thriving boutique in the heart of Lagos. Chioma had everything a teenager could wish for: wealth, beauty, and influence. But in the same school, there was another student, though much less noticed, Tunde. He was the quiet type, always buried in books, his thick glasses slipping down his nose as he scribbled away in his notebook. Unlike Chioma, Tunde came from a humble background. His mother sold akara by the roadside, and his father was a struggling tailor. Yet, despite his simple life, Tunde was the smartest student in the school. His teachers often praised him, but most of his classmates overlooked him. One afternoon, during an inter-house debate competition, fate brought them together. Chioma, representing Blue House, was on stage, arguing confidently about the role of technology in modern education. But midway through, she stumbled on a point. She struggled for words, her mind blank. Just then, a voice whispered behind her, "The answer is artificial intelligence and e-learning platforms." She turned slightly and saw Tunde, sitting quietly in the audience, a small smile on his lips. He had saved her. And that was the moment Chioma noticed him, not as just another boy, but as someone different. After the debate competition, Chioma couldn't get Tunde out of her mind. How had he known exactly what to say? And why had he helped her? She was used to people admiring her, but Tunde had never shown interest in her until that moment. The next day, as Chioma sat in class, her best friend, Amoka, nudged her playfully. "Babe, you were fire at the debate yesterday. But that brainy Tunde guy really saved you," she teased. Chioma laughed but didn't respond. Instead, she glanced at the back of the classroom where Tunde sat alone, writing something in his notebook. She was curious about him, but she couldn't let anyone notice. After all, she had a reputation to protect. During break time, she made her way to the library, pretending to search for a book. She found Tunde sitting in a corner, completely absorbed in a textbook. Taking a deep breath, she approached him. "Hey, Tunde," she said, flashing her most charming smile. Tunde looked up, surprised. "Chioma. I just wanted to say, thanks for helping me yesterday," she said, her voice softer than usual. Tunde adjusted his glasses and smiled. "It was nothing. I just thought you might need it." She hesitated. "You're really smart. How do you know so much?" Tunde shrugged. "I read a lot. And I love learning new things." For the first time, Chioma felt something unusual, a genuine admiration for someone beyond their looks or social status. But as she turned to leave, Amoka and two other girls walked into the library. They looked shocked to see her talking to Tunde. "Chioma, what are you doing here?" Amoka asked, raising an eyebrow. Chioma's heart pounded. She knew what they were thinking. Tunde wasn't the type of guy a girl like her was supposed to be seen with. In that moment, she made a choice, one that would define the course of their relationship. Chioma's heart pounded as Amoka and the other girls stared at her, waiting for an explanation. She knew how quickly rumors spread in Grand Oak High. If they suspected she was interested in Tunde, the teasing would never end. Forcing a laugh, she said, "Oh, I was just asking him about yesterday's debate. You know, making sure I sounded smart." Amoka smirked. "Well, you already have beauty and popularity, babe. No need to start reading all those boring books like Tunde." The girls laughed, and Chioma forced herself to laugh too. She saw the slight flicker in Tunde's eyes, but he said nothing, just nodding and returning to his book. As the girls walked out, Chioma felt a pang of guilt. Ton had been kind to her, and she had just pretended it didn't matter. Yet, she couldn't stop thinking about him. Later that day, as she walked toward the school gate, she noticed Ton sitting under a tree, sketching something in his notebook. Curiosity got the better of her, and she went over. "What are you drawing?" she asked softly. Ton looked up, surprised to see her again. After a moment's hesitation, he handed her the notebook. On the page was a beautiful sketch of the school library. "This is amazing," she said, genuinely impressed. "You're really talented." Ton smiled. "It's just a hobby. It helps me think." Chioma sat beside him, feeling safe in the quiet of the afternoon. I didn't mean to act weird earlier," she admitted. I don't know how to explain it." Ton shrugged. "I get it. You have an image to protect." Chioma looked at him, surprised by how well he understood her. "Maybe we can still be friends. Just, in secret." Ton hesitated before nodding. "Sure, Chioma. Friends." But deep down, they both knew it was already more than that. For weeks, Chioma and Ton's secret friendship grew. While in school, she barely acknowledged him, but after classes, they found moments to talk, hidden behind the school garden, in the library when no one was around, or under the old mango tree near the football field. Chioma had never met anyone like Tunde. He saw the world differently, always asking deep questions about life, dreams, and purpose. While other boys in school only cared about fashion, parties, and impressing girls, Tunde was focused on knowledge and self-improvement. "I don't understand you," Chioma said one afternoon as they sat near the mango tree. "You're the smartest person in school. Why don't you care about being popular?" Tunde chuckled, pushing his glasses up his nose. "Because popularity fades, Chioma. But knowledge, that lasts forever." She stared at him, fascinated. All her life, she had chased validation from people, always making sure she was admired, always maintaining her image. But here was Tunde, completely unaffected by it all, and he was happier than most people she knew. One evening, as they walked home together, Tunde hesitated before saying, "Chioma, do you ever think about the future? What do you really want?" She sighed. "I don't know. I guess I'll go to a good university, get a nice job, and be successful." Tunde smiled. "That's what everyone says. But what do you really want? What makes you happy?" Chioma opened her mouth to answer but realized she didn't know. No one had ever asked her that before. Before she could say anything, a loud voice interrupted them. "Chioma." She turned and froze. Amoka and some other students were standing nearby, staring at them with shock and disbelief. "What are you doing with him?" Amoka asked, her voice filled with mockery. Chioma's heart pounded. She had been caught. Chioma's breath caught in her throat. The look on Amoka's face was one of pure disbelief, while the other students whispered among themselves, stealing glances at Tunde as if he were an alien. "What are you doing with him?" Amoka repeated, crossing her arms. Chioma's mind raced. She had two choices: stand by Tunde and risk losing her social status, or deny him and protect her reputation. She forced a laugh, trying to act unbothered. "Oh, Tunde. I was asking him about a school assignment." Tunde's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes dimmed. Amoka scoffed. "Since when do you need help with schoolwork? Come on, Chioma, let's go before people start thinking you and him are friends." The other students chuckled. Chioma felt like she was suffocating. Slowly, she took a step back. Then another. Tunde nodded slightly, as if he already knew what she would do. Without a word, he turned and walked away. Chioma felt a sharp pang in her chest. She wanted to call out to him, to explain, but she didn't. Instead, she let Amoka and the others pull her away, laughing as if nothing had happened. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the hurt in Ton's eyes, the way he had walked away without saying a word. He had been nothing but kind to her, and she had betrayed him, just to keep her social status intact. The next day at school, Ton didn't look at her. He didn't acknowledge her presence. It was as if she had never existed. And for the first time, Chioma realized something terrifying: she had lost him. Days turned into weeks, and Ton remained distant. Chioma had expected him to confront her, to ask why she had denied him in front of everyone. But he never did. Instead, he moved on as if she had never mattered. In class, he focused only on his books. During lunch, he sat alone, scribbling in his notebook or reading under the mango tree. He never once looked away. Chioma tried to act like she didn't care. She laughed louder with her friends, spent more time with the popular boys, and posted more pictures online, showing the world that she was still the queen of Grand Oak High. But deep down, she felt empty. One afternoon, she overheard two teachers talking in the staff room. "That Ton boy is brilliant. Did you see his test results? Highest in the whole school again." "Yes. I heard he's been shortlisted for an international scholarship. He might be leaving Nigeria soon." Chioma's heart stopped. Leaving. For the rest of the day, she couldn't concentrate. The thought of Ton gone, without even a goodbye, made her stomach twist. Later that evening, she went to the mango tree where they used to talk. She found him sitting there, lost in thought. Summoning her courage, she walked up to him. "Ton." He glanced at her briefly before returning to his notebook. "What do you want, Chioma?" She swallowed hard. I heard about the scholarship. Is it true?" He nodded. "Yes. If all goes well, I'll be leaving for the US in a few months." Chioma's heart clenched. "You weren't going to tell me?" Ton let out a small, sad laugh. "Tell you? Chioma, you made it clear that what we had was nothing. Why should it matter to you now?" She felt tears sting her eyes. "It does matter. I miss you, Ton." For a moment, there was silence. Then he looked at her, his expression unreadable. "You miss me? Or do you just miss the idea of me when no one's watching?" Chioma opened her mouth, but no words came out. For the first time, she realized how much she had hurt him. Chioma couldn't get Ton's words out of her head. "You miss me? Or do you just miss the idea of me when no one's watching?" She had never thought of it that way before, but now, it hit her like a punch to the chest. Had she only cared about him in secret because she was afraid of what others would think? And now that she might lose him forever, did she really have the right to ask for his attention? The next day at school, Chioma decided she wouldn't run away from her feelings anymore. She would fight for Ton, even if it cost her reputation. During lunch, when the cafeteria was packed with students, she walked straight to where Ton was sitting alone. The entire room went silent. "Ton," she said loudly. He looked up, surprised, along with everyone else in the cafeteria. Mama spread across the room. She took a deep breath. "I was wrong. About everything. I was too scared to admit I liked you, but I do. And I don't care what anyone thinks anymore." Gasps and whispers erupted in the room. Amoka nearly choked on her juice. Ton stared at her, eyes filled with disbelief. "Chioma, why are you doing this?" "Because I don't want you to leave thinking I never cared." Her voice wavered. "I do. And I'm sorry." The entire cafeteria watched, waiting for Ton's response. But instead of smiling or accepting her apology, he stood up slowly, gathered his books, and said, "Chioma, I appreciate this. But some things can't be undone." He walked past her, leaving her standing there, humiliated and heartbroken. Chioma stood frozen in the cafeteria, the weight of Ton's rejection sinking into her heart. The whispers around her grew louder, some mocking, others surprised. Amoka walked up to her, eyes wide. "Chioma, what was that?" she asked, almost laughing. "You just embarrassed yourself over Ton." But Chioma wasn't listening. Her mind was spinning. For so long, she had been afraid of what people thought, but now that she had finally spoken her truth, it was too late. She spent the rest of the day in a daze, replaying the moment in her head. Ton's words echoed over and over. Some things can't be undone. That evening, she made one last attempt. She waited outside the school gate, hoping to catch him before he went home. When he finally appeared, she stepped in front of him. "Ton, please," she pleaded. "I know I hurt you, but—" "Chioma," he interrupted, his voice calm but firm. "I'm not angry anymore." She blinked. "You're not?" He shook his head. "No. I was hurt, but I've moved on. You should too?" Her throat tightened. "But what if I don't want to move on?" Ton sighed, adjusting his backpack. "Chioma, love isn't about grand gestures or proving something in front of people. It's about how you treat someone when no one is watching." He paused. "You only chose me when you realized I was leaving. That's not love. That's regret." Tears welled up in her eyes. "So this is it?" Ton gave her a small, sad smile. "This is it." And with that, he walked away. For the first time in her life, Chioma, Grand Oak High's queen, the girl who always got what she wanted, felt truly powerless. She had lost him. For the first time in her life, Chioma felt what it truly meant to lose something valuable. No amount of popularity, beauty, or social status could fill the emptiness inside her. She had thought she could fix things with Tunde, but now, she realized that some things, once broken, could never return to the way they were. She spent the next few days in silence, avoiding Amoka and the other girls. Their gossip and shallow conversations no longer interested her. The things that once mattered, being admired, staying at the top of the social chain, felt meaningless now. One afternoon, she walked to the school library, a place she had only ever visited when she needed to borrow a book for an assignment. But this time, she came for something else. She sat at the same table where Ton used to sit, staring at the empty chair across from her. An old librarian approached her, smiling. "You seem troubled, my dear." Chioma sighed. "I made a mistake. A big one." The librarian chuckled. "We all do, child. But mistakes are just lessons in disguise. What matters is what you learn from them." Chioma nodded slowly. "I was afraid of what people would think if I loved someone like Tunde. I let my pride get in the way, and now I lost him." The librarian patted her hand. "Then perhaps, your lesson was never about love, but about self-worth. You cared too much about what others thought of you, and in the process, you lost what was real." Chioma swallowed the lump in her throat. "But what do I do now?" The librarian smiled. "You become better. Not for Tunde. Not for anyone else. But for yourself." For the first time, Chioma realized that maybe, just maybe, this heartbreak was what she needed to truly grow. Months passed, and life at Grand Oak High continued. Chioma was no longer the center of attention. She had distanced herself from Amoka and the other girls, choosing instead to focus on her studies and self-growth. She no longer cared about impressing people who didn't truly care about her. One day, during the morning assembly, the principal made an announcement that sent a wave of mamas through the school. "We are proud to announce that one of our brightest students, Tunde Olimide, has been awarded a full scholarship to study abroad. He will be leaving Nigeria next week to begin his journey." Chioma's heart clenched. She had known this moment was coming, but hearing it out loud made it real. After assembly, she walked to the mango tree, the place where she and Tunde had once shared their deepest thoughts. She ran her fingers over the rough bark, memories flooding back. Then, as if fate had planned it, Tunde appeared, carrying his books. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. "You're really leaving?" Chioma finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Tunde nodded. "Yeah. My flight is on Sunday." She took a deep breath. "I never got to properly say, I'm sorry." Tunde gave her a small smile. I know. And I forgave you a long time ago. Tears welled up in her eyes. I wish I had been braver, Tunde. I wish I had chosen you when it mattered. He sighed, looking up at the sky. Sometimes, we only realize the value of something when we've lost it. But that's life, Chioma. We learn, we grow, and we move on. She wanted to ask if they could still keep in touch, if there was any chance for them in the future. But deep down, she already knew the answer. Some stories don't have a perfect ending. Some lessons come with a price. As Tunde walked away, disappearing into the school building, Chioma wiped a tear from her cheek. She had lost him, but she had gained something just as valuable: growth, wisdom, and the courage to never make the same mistake again. Dear listener, what have you learned from this story? Have you ever been in a situation where fear of judgment made you lose something valuable? Remember, true love and friendship should never be sacrificed for social approval. The end.